Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Chris Sands, and this week we are joined by Jeremy Grinkey and Daniel Munoz. Did I get it?
Yep.
Almost, man. Really close.
Ah, can't you could have just humored me. But
No.
how about Daniel? Daniel, you pronounce it correctly.
Okay, give me the roll in though to Daniel, and then I'll
Daniel
Munoz.
I'm gonna give myself like a 85% on it.
I'd give you like a 70, 65. It was close though.
All right, I'll take it. I'll take
we'll
it.
it someday.
Yeah.
But the effort was high.
Do I get an A for effort at least?
Sure.
No, we don't do those kind of trophies here at the brewery. No effort trophy.
All right, so Jeremy is the director of production, which I'm guessing to get into that position, you have a long and storied career in brewing.
Yeah. Long storied. Long, I agree on. Storied might be. Well, hey, I'm always making stories, making them up sometimes. But
well, I mean that's good because no one will know if they're true or not, and made-up stories are often great.
Yeah, as long as they don't, cross any of my other stories that I may have told.
Yeah.
But no, I'm the director of production here at the brewery. I've been here since 2015 in January, so just past my 6 years, a little over 6 years now. And I came here as a production manager for our sour program. So I helped facilitate and launched the Brewery brand. And then in my time here, I've grown in my role here at the brewery, and I now am the director of all of our production, and I focus mainly on our R&D, innovation, and our wood programs. And that said, I focus on those things because we have a very diverse production management staff that, I'm very intimate in our, daily involvement, but they have a lot of skills of their own and are working in other directions that we're taking our beer. As far as, history before I was at the brewery, this is where my career is long, but my beer experience is shorter than it may seem. I spent 8 years in the Central Coast of California making wine before I transitioned into beer. So I have a long alcohol career and a long beverage career at this point, but it's split about half and half between wine and beer at this point.
Cool. We'll probably get into that a lot more once we get the story of the brewery out of the way, because I think I have some questions like how wine making relates to your new career trajectory.
Sure.
And Daniel is the VP of marketing for the brewery. How often do you have who's on first type of moments whenever you tell people where you work?
Man, I mean, usually when I tell people where I work, they ask me which one.
Yeah, that's
yeah, it's every time. I mean, I don't think I can name a time where I've said, "Oh, I work at the brewery," and people have said, "Oh, cool, I love that brewery." It's always, which one, dude? I'm like, the brewery. I don't know how else to say it, and you have to spell it out. It's a whole thing. I mean, looking back, man, Patrick picked a really tricky name there, huh?
Well, I asked that because I often get asked who I have coming up.
Yeah.
And every time I said the brewery, they'll be like, okay, well, like which one? Like it was the same type of exchange.
Yeah.
Like, the one in California that has the name The Brewery. Yeah. You've probably seen their
RUE.
Yeah. So do you know what is the name of the founder?
So founder Patrick Brew. So Patrick's a pretty interesting guy. Started the brewery. What is it? 13 years ago now. 13 years ago. And yeah,
as craft beer goes, he's like a grandfather almost.
He is, and the story really interesting. I mean, he was a home brewer. He just finished law school, I believe, and then made a big pivot, decided to open up a brewery, got into really experimental barrel-aged stuff, and 13 years later, here we are. He always does say, though, he regrets putting his last name into the name of the brewery because, as marketers and as brand guys, we like to then throw his last name into everything. And he's actually a really kind of humble, shy guy. So you got a lot of beers with a Rue in it now, and he kind of sometimes just shakes his head at it, like, why did I do that? What was I thinking?
So what do you know why he decided to name it The Brewery?
Oh, what else would you call it? Your last name's Rue in Brew. It's what else could you do?
And I guess if you wanted to go like the full on we are the best, and that's kind of like a drop the mic, like we are the brewery.
And at the time there weren't. I mean, there were obviously craft breweries, but 13 years ago there weren't as many. It's not like it was now, where if he said, "Oh, I have the brewery in Orange County," people go, "Oh yeah, the brewery," because it was the brewery in Orange County.
Yeah, but it's really easy to fall into what feels like a pretentious statement at some point.
Yeah.
Because when somebody is like, "Which brewery?" and you're like, "The Brewery." Oh, excuse me.
Pardon me, sir.
But our beer is a little bit like the Grey Poupon of mustard, if that makes any sense. So probably not. Holy cow!
You all drive around in Rolls Royces?
Only Jeremy does.
Yeah, just me.
Yeah, he's in a Rolls Royce. I got a Subaru.
What is the size of the brewery? I guess first annual barrel age. So I know you're big. So
yeah, I mean I think that oftentimes our reputation is bigger than our production volume. And so you see a lot of our beer around the world. But we're just closed out our biggest year ever, and we're still shy of 20,000 barrels. So
actually, I mean, that's way lower than what I would have thought.
Yeah.
So the way you described it is actually absolutely perfect, because it was my perception.
Yeah. So I think we just have a big footprint. And it is pretty shocking to a lot of people when they ask, and like I said, it's our biggest year at that number. We're hovering around 10,000 barrels for quite a number of years. So, which is still a ton of beer for a craft brewery. Absolutely. It's not a lot of beer. But when you're in, what are we in, Daniel? 25 or 26 states, 20, 30 countries across the world. We make a lot of high end beer. We make a lot of beer that can be drank today, and we make a lot of beer that's quite honestly for special occasions, and people like to save it for, and therefore it takes quite a big network to get all that beer into the hands of people that'll drink it.
And has that been the way since the very beginning? Because you did said specialized in barrel aged artisanal stuff. So is it from the very beginning there was a focus on putting beer into barrels? And
yeah, absolutely. So we are from day one, we're a Belgian inspired California brewery. So inspired by the old world traditions, but not bound by them. As young upstarts that are trying to do their own thing, we're influenced by everything, but kind of have our own way of doing it. And the fact that 13 years ago in Southern California there wasn't aside from one or two down in San Diego, there really wasn't breweries in SoCal, aging beer in barrels, making Belgian beers, making sour beers, making big, high gravity stouts. Anybody that opens a brewery today is pretty much doing all of those things. But when we opened this brewery, everybody was making IPA, and we chose not to make any IPA up until about 4 years ago. 4 years ago is when we kind of, we launched Offshoot brand called Offshoot Ber Co. Started making a bunch of different IPAs for that, and watched our distribution grow.
I guess I get to cross that off. That was one of my questions for later.
Sorry.
Jeremy, get out of yourself.
Now you just completely ruined all of my preparation. I'm out of.
I'm sorry, dude. If you want, I'll just keep talking, and I'll probably check the rest of the stuff.
So, so the brewery itself does not. You don't make any IPAs. There, like anything of that's done through.
Well, we actually do make it. It's just not
Okay.
branded as the brewery.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I guess I used the wrong verb. Like there is not the brewery IPA.
That is correct. There is no IPA produced by the brewery in a can that says the brewery across the top.
There is a Hoppy Brett beer that's IPA-ish. But no IPAs coming out of the brewery right now.
Although it seems like nowadays you can pretty much just slap the term IPA on any beer that's produced and no one's going to question you unless it's a stout.
Yeah, that might be true. All the different types for sure.
So you have your name listed as at Sour Jesus. Well, at Sour_Jesus. Is that Twitter, Instagram, or where does that screen name live?
That's Instagram.
So do you know you have competition? There is an at Fruited Sour Jesus also.
I'm not aware.
Yeah. So
I bet he knows who you are, though, Jeremy.
He might.
I don't know. He may not be. There's not a whole lot of crossover between fruited sours and traditional sours.
Really?
I don't think a lot of the people who enjoy and love like a heavily fruited sour, I don't typically like mixed firm barrel aged sour beers.
Okay, you're talking about like new Cool Kid Slurpee machine. I got you. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. They are a different customer, but we know how to reach them both.
And that's what at Fruited Sour Jesus focuses on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I don't think you guys aren't living in the same hemisphere.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to send him a cease and desist, Jeremy. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah.
He's my brother.
Oh, hey, he's your evil twin.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to guess that the brewery is not going to be putting out any bombers of heavily fruited sours with lactose and candy put in them.
No, not by bombers. You mean bottles?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess really when you're talking about fruited sours, it could mean either. But I specifically meant because you have so many beer in bottles.
Yeah. We actually were making a lot of. We were pretty early on in the smoothie style sour game about 4 years ago, and we made them for quite a while. But we took a little break while we're getting a little pasteurization set up going here.
Okay.
So we'll start those back up again probably this summer. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, so I guess so. Since you're pasteurizing them, will they go into your full distribution footprint, or do you keep them in California?
No, for those we call them brewsicles is what we call them.
Okay.
Those will be direct to consumer at the tap room only. For right now, we don't make a lot of it. We just make enough to keep kind of our local beer fans coming back.
Okay. Yeah, it's probably not something you want to get into sticking on a truck and shipping to the East Coast.
Yeah, no, you're right, 100%.
So much.
Or you'll have the other type of bombers.
Exactly, which is what we're trying to avoid.
But if you're although I guess I've been told that even if you do pasteurize, that there's still the potential of with those types of beers with so much residual sugar, you can still end up with re-fermentation.
Of course, yeah, that's always a risk with pasteurization. And how yeast grows, one yeast cell could be 2, and 2 could be 4, and then before you know it,
you have a can blowing up in someone's kitchen.
Yeah, before you know it, it's like you didn't kill any of the yeast, So that is part of the game. But pasteurization has also saved thousands of lives over the years with creating food quality. So that I think it's just it's a necessary evil, and we don't like to do it for beers that don't need it. So we don't pasteurize any wild beers that come out of the True facility, and we don't pasteurize any high gravity stouts that come out of the brewery main campus. Meaning like Black Tuesday and big stouts that are over 16%. But if you're going to put cinnamon and vanilla into a 8% cream ale, you're going to need to pasteurize that because cinnamon and vanilla have microorganisms living on them. So they're not going to hold up in trade without pasteurization.
Okay. We're going to take a real quick sponsor break. And actually, I have a few more questions about pasteurization I want to talk about because I've been told things over the years that I don't know if 100% true. And I trust the Sour Jesus to be able to set me straight on whether or not
Fair enough. All right.
So we will be right back.
If you haven't heard about our beer dinners, well, now you have. Typically, the last Tuesday of each month, we partner with a local brewery and craft an exclusive 5-course dinner. Each course is thoughtfully paired with some of the finest craft beer available. You'll meet the brewery, enjoy memorable pairings and service, and have a damn good time. Like us on Facebook to stay in the know when tickets become available, because they will sell out quick.
Idiom Brewing Company proudly offers a delicious variety of beers to satisfy the most discerning tastes. Best known for their wide array of IPAs, delicious fruited sours, and robust porters and stouts, Idiom prides themselves on continuing to innovate, utilizing new and experimental hops, local ingredients, and unique flavor profiles. Idiom has a simple goal in mind: to bring people from all walks of life together to enjoy themselves and each other. Idiom Brewing Company is located in downtown Frederick, just south of the intersection of East Street and East Patrick Street, with ample seating and directly on Carroll Creek.
All right. So forever ago, I was told that a pasteurized beer, it has no effect whatsoever on the flavor. That it's more or less putting just a pause on everything. That it's not going to, like, if you have the beer right there, you pasteurize, it doesn't make any change to the flavor at that time. It would just, the only difference is any possible future changes due to yeast. Is that accurate, or was I lied to?
I think it's half true, or it's fully true. Let's put it this way: that's 100% true on some beers.
Well, actually, and this is long enough ago. Although, actually, let me tell you. Let me let you finish, and you can tell me what kind of beers that doesn't hold true on.
Yeah, well, I would say that if it's a basic beer, there's nothing in that beer that will get damaged or volatilized from the pasteurization. Now, if that beer is a imperial stout with cacao and peppermint, like a minty stout, you're not really going to lock in those flavors of the mint. I heard you say that earlier in your description. I think you said lock in or seal in or something like that.
Like put a pause.
On. Yeah. So the term I would use is lock it in. That's not really going to lock in the mint. It's actually going to volatilize it to some degree. So you actually can see a degradation post pasteurization on some products.
Okay.
Now,
so like with
products, go ahead.
With the mint, is that super high spike in heat that it damages the.
It damages the chemical compound structure.
Okay.
And so in my experience, you'll need to over mint something pre-pasteurize so that you don't have to go and remint it again post pasteurization.
Okay.
Now, there's other flavors that I feel like pasteurization does help, like almost cement them or set them into the beer. And I think a lot of times vanilla can be one of those kind of things where add a very good vanilla character before pasteurization, but like right after the pasteurization, it was on point. So I think that there's several different variables that you can have there. And then I think there's other things like, we do a lot of beer wine hybrids here at the brewery, and I've been here before where one of the plans was to pasteurize one of those products because they didn't want anything going on weird in the bottle. Well, I can tell you that one thing that I know about wine is wine doesn't like heat. If you leave and Daniel could tell you, he's done this famously. If you leave a case of wine in the back of your car, for a week in the summer, that wine,
yeah. Gifted
wine. But
I feel like Daniel just got thrown under a bus.
Oh, he did. Yeah. He did.
In my defense, I drove the gang both ways in like 4 hours of traffic back from wine country. It was a trip.
Yeah. So heat ruins wine. Wine technically gets cooked by heat. And if you've ever had a bottle that got hot and then it got cold again, if you know anything about what wine's supposed to taste like, you can definitely taste the difference. So that's an example of something that absolutely, in my opinion, should not be pasteurized. If it's a beer wine hybrid and you're trying to preserve the wine flavor in that beer, then a pasteurizer is just an abominable tool for that. It's something that shouldn't be used. So I think that there's a perfect place for a pasteurizer, and then there's the other beers where you just have to kind of know what you're doing and know the history of your machine and how the beers come out, and you make little tweaks along the way on the next beer.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I don't get to talk about much because there aren't a ton of craft breweries that have a pasteurizer, so it's not. It's usually talked about in like an aspirational thing, like if we were able to pasteurize, we could do this. But
yeah, well, I think it's one of those things where I was saying earlier that it seems like we make a lot more beer than we make, and a lot of that is because we have it spread around so heavily. And then a lot of that too is because people like to hold on to those products, and they want to savor them and use them at the right occasion. Well, without a pasteurizer, we're just gambling on every one of those products. So, is this beer going to be good for 5 years? Like, I don't know, and odds are if you don't pasteurize it, it's not going to be.
Hey, completely off topic, but you're someone I feel like might be able to answer this question for me. Can you saber a beer bottle?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. I've always wanted that. So does it require a certain type of beer, or is it any like? Okay.
No. So essentially, a beer bottle, like the bottles that we put our beer in, when we go to order them, the bottle it's a champagne bottle. That's the style bottle. And so it's the same bottle. You can do it with anything that's under pressure with carbonation, and it's all about just getting the bottle cold enough, and then have you ever savored it before?
No, and I really want to, but I don't like champagne.
Yeah. So the other thing you do is you get the bottle, especially the neck, really cold, and then you look for the seam that goes up the side of the bottle. And
I know that part of it.
Yeah.
And you need it has to be an unsharpened edge. It can't be sharpened. Yep. I did not know about the coldness part of it.
Yeah. So, well, there's two reasons for that. One, because you can help the glass shatter, and then two, the carbonation is related to temperature and pressure, right? So if you have a warm bottle and you try to do that, all of the champagne or beer is going to go out of the bottle as foam.
Okay.
Because it's just going to vaporize almost. Vaporize isn't the right word, but you know what I mean. So the colder it is, the more of it you'll actually keep in the bottle.
All right, we'll look forward to a beer sabering video on Instagram, everyone.
Do it.
Do it with a brewery bottle.
Yeah. Do a challenge. Do a beer saber challenge.
Oh,
that's a good idea.
Yeah, at somebody. Yeah. Use me, and then I'll follow you.
All right.
Yeah.
That's my. I think that's going to be my assignment for the weekend.
Nice.
I need to find. Now I just need to get something to saber with. I don't have a proper sabering tool.
You don't have a dull sword?
I do not.
Yeah.
I have a machete, and in my mind, the machete just had a flat edge, but it
Yeah.
actually is saw-toothed, so it won't work. So I need to locate something. But enough of my weird recent obsessions. Let's. I know there was definitely one thing that Daniel wanted to talk about. So let's get that out of the way before I start talking about nonsense again.
Let's check that one off.
Yeah. So we've enjoyed the brewery for quite some. Actually, I mean, I think for as long as I've been into craft beer, at least it's been available in this area. But now you're shipping directly to people.
Correct. So a lot of people don't know that we actually have a retail store in Washington, D.C. So we have a physical presence in D.C.
I did not know that either.
Yeah, which is actually basically a hub for members. So so one of the unique things about the brewery is obviously our membership program. We're one of the first, if not the, to really push for a big club, basically a bottle club. And we have a big presence on the East Coast with members. And in the past, I mean, people were so crazy for the beer, they would find friends on the West Coast, have them ship their beers over for them, or they'd make one trip a year and you'd see guys loading up U-Hauls filled with beer. So we decided to open up an East Coast location to help that out a bit. But now we're actually using it also as sort of this fulfillment hub where we ship to New Hampshire, Vermont, Pennsylvania, I think that's it, all of DC, and Virginia. And so, yeah, basically anything you see on our website or membership, if you want to join a membership, we can now get that beer straight to your door. So it's been exciting for us just to see, in particular, Pennsylvania and Virginia have just blown up for us for direct-to-consumer shipping. So and we're seeing our memberships. So our Preservation Society membership is our membership open year-round, and we've been able to see that really start popping off in Virginia and Pennsylvania. So it's fun for us to just see that people, because we've always been so localized that we know Orange County in Southern California there's an appetite for the brewery and for our memberships, but it's really fun to see it on some of our more exciting beers, right? Because you can go to the shop and you can get some of our year-rounds, and we put out some seasonals, but a lot of our direct-to-consumer brands are too hard to make to scale up to that size. It's too expensive to get into distribution, and so it's fun to see these new markets opening up and be really excited for these huge stouts or some of these traditional wild ales that we're putting out.
How long has that store in DC been open?
This is going on year 4, I believe.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Jeremy, but I believe this is going on year 4. So it's actually right by, if you're familiar with DC, it's right by the Union Market, the big market space. It's like a mixed use market space. It's, 4 blocks from that.
I think I know where that is. For as close as I live to DC, you'd think I would go there more often, but I hardly ever make it there.
No worries, we can ship to you now.
Well, you can't ship to me specifically because I live in the great state of Maryland, where they do not allow such things because who knows what we would get into if that was permitted.
Right. I've heard about you guys. Has the direct to consumer shipping ramped up a lot because of COVID?
Yes. However, another unique thing about the brewery is we've been in the direct to consumer e-commerce game for a long time, right? So when everything shut down, we were actually in a really good position because that's a big part of the brewery's business. Is we've been shipping in California and Nevada for 8 years, and so what it really did was it ramped it up. Not like you see a lot of breweries saying oh man, shipping just came in and saved the day, and I think we did fine with it, and it grew, but really it grew because it pushed us to expand, right? Like it pushed us to open up these new states and make the effort to really start growing that part of the brewery. And I mean, it's honestly the direct to consumer piece is one of our, if not the biggest business channel for us. We have a lot of people who just want to buy a beer straight from us. We even went out and bought 3 delivery vans in Southern California, so it's actually pretty cool. We run our own local deliveries. So same day, if you live in Orange County or Los Angeles County, we can get you your beer on the same day, which is I don't know any other brewer doing that. So I think that's pretty cool.
Was that a new allowance in California due to COVID, or could you always deliver?
You could always deliver direct.
Okay.
We just, people couldn't get out of the house, and we didn't want to. Our tasting rooms got shut down, and we didn't really want to have to let a bunch of people go. So we decided to build out our own delivery service, and we actually put our tasting room team on the road to deliver beer. So it's still cool. Beers even without the tasting rooms being open, which they now are fully open. So, and we decided to keep that piece of the business too. So it's doing pretty well for us.
Yeah, here in Maryland, breweries were never allowed to do that. And then that was one of the executive orders that the governor made to allow breweries to deliver directly to customers. Still can't. Well, actually, a Maryland brewery can ship beer to a resident in Maryland. I don't think they can ship it out of the state, and then they can deliver directly to a customer.
Okay.
And I believe those were just enacted into law within the last month. A lot of breweries in Maryland, as the tap rooms have opened back up, though, have stopped or pulled back on delivery a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's something that'll stick around super long in Maryland, or if most of the local breweries are just going to go back to sorry, you got to come to us.
Yeah. No, I mean it's a good way to expand your reach and get fans beer. So we're gonna keep going, and we're actually gonna open up 3 or 4 more states in the next few months. So we're pretty excited for it.
Well, I know there's been a lot of people complaining as breweries announced that they're going to cease delivery. Like people complaining about it, like, hey, we've been supporting you all along with these deliveries, and now you won't deliver it to us. And so I think it's kind of putting some breweries into a yeah. But although, I mean, you guys probably in your area, like the traffic that you have to deal with deliveries has got to be just as bad as this area.
It's slowly picking back up, but I mean, with the pandemic, traffic kind of disappeared for a while. I mean, Southern California traffic is not anything to joke about. It sucks.
All right, we're going to take one more quick sponsor break, and then I don't know, I'll find us probably some other tangent for us to go down. So we will be right back. There are many reasons why I have chosen District East for where I purchase beer. I love the flexibility of being able to make a custom 6-pack or take home a crowler from one of the 8 beers on tap. Their friendly and knowledgeable staff do an amazing job at keeping a diverse selection on hand. You can even purchase artwork from the monthly featured artist. District East is located on Northeast Street in Frederick, in the same shopping center as Family Mill and Rockwell Brewery. You can find today's beer lists on the District East Facebook page or at www.districteast.beer. To all you craft breweries, wineries, and distilleries out there, listen up. Atlantic Custom Solutions is the real deal in providing you branded growlers, ceramics, glassware, and accessories like koozies, coasters, and keychains. Their high-definition digital printing, organic ink, and low-fire process ensures your brand is printed in ultra-high definition, giving you a one-up on the competition. We've used Atlantic Custom Solutions for uncapped branded glassware and couldn't be happier with it. Check them out. Visit www.brandmybeverage.com or give them a call at 434-286-4500 to learn more about how they can help you brand your business. Uncapped is brought to you with support from McClintock Distilling, Maryland's first and only organic certified distillery. They are well known for their award-winning gin and are rapidly growing a name for themselves for their Matchstick Bourbon and Bootjack Rye Whiskey that have both won double gold at international spirits competitions. You can visit them in historic downtown Frederick along Carroll Creek for tours and tastings. Go to McClintockDistilling.com for more information. All right, Jeremy, you said that one of the reasons you'd been brought in was for barrel-aged sour programs and that type of stuff. Is the knowledge from winemaking directly applicable to that? Is there a correlations between that? Because at least what I found, I used to despise wine, and it wasn't until I started to enjoy mixed fermentation and sour beers more that I could find any wines I liked at all. So is there some correlations between the two, or am I just making a complete false equivalency?
No, I mean, I think there is. I think that, there's a correlation between wine and beer, and I think sour beer potentially, is a little bit closer, strictly because of some of the things that you do in sour beer production, where you do secondary fermentation with fruit and sometimes tertiary fermentation and bottle conditioning. Secondary fermentation is a winemaking technique. Malolactic fermentation is a winemaking technique. Really early on, champagne being carbonated and bottle conditioned is a winemaking technique that is brought over to beer later on. So I think historically winemaking is very akin to beer. Now, that being said, the reason that I was kind of looked for or selected or ended up with the job that I ended up with and coming to the brewery is a lot of that skill set that I had of cellar management, barrel management, packaging experience, fermentation knowledge, and an ability to come up with new and unique products is kind of really what got me in the door here. And I wouldn't say that every winemaker can directly translate their palate to sour beer, but for myself, it came quite easily. And I know a handful of other winemakers turned sour beer producers. A good buddy of mine, Kevin Martin at Cascade Brewing in Portland, Oregon, has a similar story. So yeah, I think it fits. And then I think there's one other thing that winemaking gave me, or at least gave me a head start on when it comes to the beer industry is, as a winemaker, it's a huge part of your job to promote the product and to talk about the product, do winemaker dinners, speak to consumers, come into the tasting room and tell somebody why a bottle is worth the $35 you're charging for it. And I think in brewing, I think a lot of brewers are getting better at that kind of thing, but back in the day, brewers were kind of like the, gruff bearded guys in the back that really didn't want to be bothered,
There's still a lot of those though.
Yeah, there is. But I get it. It's a hot, dirty, sweaty, lonely job. But, the quality of the liquid sells it for sure. But a little bit of personality behind it, really, really helps the product a lot. So I think I was kind of fortunate to have a little bit of that under my belt and be a little bit older and not afraid to, talk about what we do and why we do it and why we made this beer and make a joke at my own expense and, lighten people up a little bit and hopefully get them to come back. It's pretty simple.
What made you want to make the switch from winemaking to brewing?
Yeah, well, that was a pretty easy one. So I always wanted to make beer and I always wanted to make wine. When I was 19, 20, 21, working at Trader Joe's, kind of getting exposed to a lot of different foods and drinks that I didn't have growing up. I was very meat and potatoes sort of family, and getting a dolma or something, a grape leaf wrapped rice thing. My mind was blown by these things. So I got inspired and I started drinking different beer and different wine. And I thought, oh man, I really want to do this, And I was fortunate enough to actually get into it and do it with wine. So I was actually looking for another wine job, and I came across the brewery, and Patrick and I started talking. And, long story short, I didn't know that I wanted the beer job. But I knew that if I was ever going to have an opportunity to do it, that this is where I'd want to do it. These are the people I'd want to do it with. And then I also thought that I'll never lose the skill set that I have, and I could always go back to it if this doesn't work out. So for me, it was just an opportunity to scratch another itch and to really challenge myself and test myself to see if I could actually do, what I thought I was fully capable of doing. And then, just sometimes in life you're looking for something exciting and a challenge, and sometimes just taking another job where you know exactly what to do isn't that challenge.
So, do you enjoy making beer more than making wine now?
No, I don't think I do. I think I enjoy making wine more, but I enjoy the beer business more than the wine business, if that makes any sense. Like, I think that as a maker, it's probably more fun to make wine, but as far as the value I get out of coming to work, I get more of that in beer.
Okay. So what about winemaking do you like better than making beer?
Well, it's just romantic.
Okay.
It's seasonal. Like, you only make it, you're going through harvest, through the fall season, and you're outdoors and you're working in agriculture, and your boots are dirty and you sweat. You sweat an outdoor sweat, not a indoor steamy sweat, So it's just different. It feels different. Like, I drive a truck to work every day when I'm a winemaker, and I'm on a dirt road, and I got beer cans that I throw out the window into the back of the truck, driving in the concrete jungle of Southern California from my office to my home. I'm not drinking a beer. I certainly ain't throwing it out the window, and I'm rarely in a truck. I don't know. I think there's something tactile about winemaking that isn't quite there with beer. But
now you're driving your Rolls Royce.
Yeah, now I'm driving a Rolls Royce, making tons of money in craft beer. I'm just kidding, but I'm just saying, like, it's it's just it's fulfilling. One thing that's fulfilling about beer is just having something to do every day. Like, it's just we make so many different beers. We upwards of 300 to 400 beers a year. 150 of those get packaged. It's just a constant, nonstop thing, and I kind of thrive in that, so it works for me.
Do you think that craft beer is a more creative process for making it? Like, it seems like there's more avenues and more ways to differentiate what you're making. There's less wood, and it's more up to you than what happened with that harvest of grapes that year.
Yeah, well, I think that's true in the sense of the time it takes to affect change. So yeah, it's true that in the moment you can decide to do something, brew the beer, maybe have it finished in 3 weeks. Barrel aged beer is much akin to winemaking in the fact that you're making an unaged product, and you need to have an expectation of time and how long it's going to take to make that product true to concept and finish. So that's much akin to winemaking, but where winemaking takes it a step further is when the winemaker gets into the vineyard and starts planting the wines in the vineyard. And by that, I mean, say, I'm still making wine and I decide to change out this vineyard of Syrah and plant only Tempranillo here. Well, it's going to take 6 years before we get one grape off of that thing that I did, and then another couple of years in the cellar. So there, that is like almost the real lifestyle game, of like, I started this project 10 years ago. Here's the first sip. That's some heavy stuff.
I went to a local vineyard when they were planting it. I think it was two years ago now. That was so cool.
Yeah.
With the machines that they use for planting the Right? Is there a special term for it? Or is it just can't remember what they called them. I feel like there was a special name for like the cutting. Was it cuttings? So they
Yeah, a clone.
yeah, so they were doing that. Oh, and really funny. They we brought out this VR camera we have that does a 360 view of thing, and the farmers kept telling us that we were messing with the GPS on the tractor.
Oh,
That they kept losing sync, and we're like, it's impossible. There's
Yeah.
no way. It operates on a different frequency completely. Like it just cannot possibly be messing with the GPS on your tractors.
right.
And they kept insisting it was, and then a minute later, Marine One flew over and all the escorting aircraft. So they must have been jamming GPS as they were flying from DC to Camp David.
Dang. Daniel, you hear that?
So I made them apologize to us.
Yeah.
But it was a cool process watching a vineyard being planted, and I didn't realize like how high tech farm equipment was until that point too, where like they knew exactly to the precisely where everything was going to be planted, so that every row and everything matched up perfect.
Well, and they're maximizing number of plants, and it's serious business for sure.
So what was the thinking when Offshoot Beer Company was made? Was it just for when like beer that didn't quite fit into the brewery story, it would be put under that brand? Or
yeah, I mean, I'll take a first crack and then maybe Jeremy can follow up on it. But yeah, essentially, I mean, you know, the reason the brewery never made IPAs was Patrick sort of famously said, you know, we're never going to make an IPA. And however, he's also a pretty good businessman, and you know, I mean, it's IPA, right? So you have to have an IPA at some point if you're a craft brewery, especially over the last 5 years when the hazies just started taking over everything. So Offshoot was really our chance to start playing in that space without breaking, you know, the promise of the brewery to never brew an IPA. So yeah, I mean, that's really what it was. It was kind of just like a tongue-in-cheek kind of, well, the brewery's not doing it, but our Offshoot is. So that's really what it is. And I mean, I think it's become one of our biggest distributed brands right now. So our Relax Hazy IPA is all over the place, and it's an easy beer to drink too, right? Like IPAs are kind of just easier. It's the same reason we started doing lagers, just a little bit more approachable beers for people to enjoy. So they're not always having to drink a 19%, 750 milliliter bottle of one of our famous stouts. Jeremy looks like
I've had Relax before, and I didn't realize that it was a product of the brewery. Well, I guess technically it's not, but it is.
Yeah, it's an offshoot of the brewery.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
It's funny though. I recently was having a discussion with a brewery owner that had recently acquired another brand, and he was telling me how like he doesn't understand why more breweries don't do that, and it was all based around getting space on shelves, that you're getting at like having the more brands going through distribution, that you're taking up more space on the shelves, and it was getting into a lot of stuff I don't know too much about, but it seems like this kind of helped. Not only does it like fit into the brand story and not making him a liar about his declaration.
I hate to have to cut out. We do have another commitment right now, so and if you have like a final question or two you want to get out there, it's crazy. Jeremy's famous, man. Now we have another crew coming to film him talk about barrel aged beer right now. So I'm basically just his agent. That's my job now, is Jeremy's agent. But yeah, we're gonna have to hop off in a few right here.
Okay, no problem. Just then, real quick, where should people go to find you? And do you have anything coming up that you want people to know about?
So just go to our website, www.thebrewery.com. And yeah, I mean, you can shop directly on our website for our beers, but you can also go to our beer finder. So we do have a beer finder to find our beer in stores and at bars near you. I'm really excited for we have an upcoming project in July called the Donut Box, and it's basically we designed a box to look like, and this is a Southern California thing, so you might not know what I'm talking about, but the plain pink boxes that donuts come in down here, it's just a really simple looking box. But we did 4 different donut inspired beers with 4 different partner donut shops. So we
cool.
have Trejo's, so Danny Trejo, his donut shop is one of our partners. We have the Donuttery, we have an East Coast brand, District Donuts out of DC, and then we have the Donut Friend out of Highland Park. So it's a pretty fun project. It's been quite a while in the making, so I'm excited for that. I'm excited to drink probably our lagers coming out. Rukeller Pilsner is coming out in the summer, and that's a ripper. So I'm excited for that.
What are you excited about? Fruited Jesus, or sorry, the sour Jesus.
See, there is confusion. You can definitely.
Yeah, there is. Go after him. Go after him, Jeremy.
Yeah, I'm actually excited about some of the double barrel aged products we have coming up this year. So we've done in the last couple of years, we've taken some of our more famous stouts and rebarreled them and double treated them and have been building these big 21 and 22% ABV stouts that are just packed full of bourbon flavor and overly adjuncted and it's a really cool, safe place to be in because at that high of ABV there's no potential for re-fermentation or for souring or for any weird shit to go on. Yeah. So it's pretty those are pretty cool. So we have a couple of big ones coming up this year that I'm excited about.
Thank you so much for your time, especially that since you're a celebrity.
Good Lord.
And thank you for helping me fulfill my sabering dreams with your information.
Do it. Tag me on that post. I want to see it.
I will be doing it.
All right, do it.
And thank you everyone for watching and listening.
We'll send you a bottle, dude. We'll send you a bottle to savor. We'll sponsor the sabering.
I will absolutely savor as soon as I find something to properly savor with.
Right.
My brother-in-law apparently has a ton of swords. Hopefully, he has something that's not sharpened on one side. So, thank you guys so much, and I will look forward to savoring a bottle of the Bruery beer.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
All right.